and convened open session at 9:37 a.m. No final decisions were made and no votes were taken in executive session. The public phone line or MS Teams has been unmuted and representatives of the media may once again report all board discussions and actions.
Chair, if I may, this is Bob Bothwell, just to put on the record, Harold did arrive.
So I yesterday gave kind of an overview of sustaining of their how we got to where we are, in rulemaking, when House Senate bills that House bills that have gone through. I don't know if you want me to give that again, or I'm not sure there's any except for Deborah. Maybe. But I can give it again. So I'm going to briefly go over the schedule. So a rule schedule just kind of lays out, when I write them, I write them back. So what I anticipate the end date will be, and then how it gets that in the meeting. So, you'll see on the 26th of October and then November 14th, both boards will be scheduled and determine who would serve, what communities and individuals should serve on RAC that would be likely be affected by legal changes. I got 14 applications, of which I took 10. In the Rules Advisory Committee report, it's all in there, which I'll be sending out to the masses Tuesday. And so the RAC met on January 30th, March 27th and April 26th. The first meeting was, I would say, get your bearings meeting, kind of how much people knew, where we needed to start, and things like that. The second meeting, we provided a draft definition of aesthetic device and advanced aesthetics device, which the committee moved those definitions forward, which we saw yesterday. And then on April 26th, they did the same thing in natural physiological effect. And I guess all that conversation is in the advisory committee report that I send next. So yesterday, the users voted on to propose rule several different things, which we talk about more under reconcile. So now today you guys are having a regular board meeting. And in this board meeting, you're going to recommend individuals and communities that will be affected by the reconcile rule changes. You have some things for you to consider. Who those RAC members should be, and that will give you more time to get applications, to reach out to people, hopefully on those. So I will compile all the information as far as the rules. I will take all of this impact information that you need, and I'll draft the notice of those rules. And with that is a fiscal impact statement. So it goes over anything that we know that could possibly impact positive or negative people, state agencies, public, small business owners, anything that we can say. And I always include everybody. So, you know, if it will affect an esthetician, the public, advanced aesthetics, the HLO, I always put them all. So on August 1st, we'll start the public comment period. When that happens, when people should write their comments, what they like about the proposed rules, the proposed definition of aesthetics and advanced aesthetics, what they don't like, suggestions for changing it. That's the period when that's what the board has to consider, is that body of board. And with that would be the hearings officer report as well. On August 16th, we'll have a combined hearing that will last all day. You can come whenever they want, whatever's convenient for them. I'll be in the room just waiting. And so same thing, that that will be a volume of work the boards will be considering. So there's that. So I encourage people to write it down, send in those public comments and or come to the hearings. I think those are very important. And then October 23rd, this is big policy. The boards will meet again and review and consider public comment and hearings officer reports, deliberate, and then decide what the final rule will be. And I don't know if that will be a 1 or 2 day event. We'll have to kind of assess and see, but we were here a long time yesterday, so I'm not going to do that again, but there's form issues, so we'll discuss it. And then January 1st would the rule be effective. On top of that, at that October 23rd meeting, the boards will be approving a rule schedule to go over all of those reconciled rules. It will probably cosmetology could be longer if you guys decide to add those things in besides the reconciling of those definition of the definition of natural physiological effect, for example, looking at retake requirements. So just for an example, right now it's failed the first time, you get 30 days. The second time, 30 days. No, 7:30. Yeah, 7:30. Yeah, 7:30. But I think we talked about the second time, just take it. You can take it the same day, and then I will fill in all of the reasons why in community engagement. Team in. So that's just an example of things we want to look at, and so the board can decide if we're going to take a larger scope of the rules and look at them in this room in 2024. And the same thing with the Esthetics. I don't think they have as many changes as the positive changes, so we'll have to wait and see. And I don't have the schedule yet. So I vote on that. I can anticipate the July 1st date, but it depends on how many members you guys decide to. That's what I have for that. And so, this is an opportunity. So I'm just gonna go over the decisions that were made yesterday. You guys can talk about it if you want. And I guess I'm giving you this so that we can set the stage for looking at those codes. So for the aesthetics device, you actually didn't change it. But just how it is, I was originally written all the way. So that's what you did. People who have more from there. Now, okay. The advanced aesthetics, you guys. A conversation around this one. Towards. Voting unanimously to add under read an advanced aesthetic device is a laser intensive pulse light piece of equipment or a mechanism used for microneedling and microchaining and dermal rolling. So what else? It's radio frequency or a similar procedure. Or piece of equipment. Mechanism. All. We share the same recipes and the volumes and layered is an pulse light device capable of performing non-ablative procedures on the skin or hair. Capable of performing procedures that are in conjunction with modality. It is registered with the US FDA. So that's for you guys unanimously yesterday for that definition. So the biggest piece adding the equipment used for microneedling and microchaining, dermal rolling, radio frequency. That and natural physiological effects. Under 2, so there's the lead in Yeah, so there's the lead-in statement that kind of restates what the law says. Number two is natural physiological effects, means we change something into a natural biological response produced by or that follows immediately from in accordance with versus normal biological functioning. That change. The floor esthetician may not use mechanical or electrical apparatus to print device beyond the epidermis. The esthetician is presumed to be using mechanical or electrical apparatus, appliance, or device below the epidermis when the esthetician exfoliates or removes the skin below the epidermal layer, so we added or removes, and then B, the esthetician destroys or damages the dermis or muscle. So you removes from B as it's saying, which. And then in 5, there was, we basically had to kind of turned it around. So an esthetician using a mechanical or electrical apparatus device can only use it in the epidermis. The esthetician's use of the mechanical or electrical apparatus, appliance, or device within the client's epidermal layers can form a natural body response that may go deeper than the example. Esthetician use microcurrent to stimulate the skin in the epidermis. The increased cellular metabolism activity or exchange above the epidermis from stimulating the epidermis skin would be the natural physiological effects from the use of the Esthetics. That's it. So those were the changes that was made, and we can vote for it with unanimously. There were several kind of different votes that happened, and then and you deliberated and came to a sentence, which doesn't always happen. So next is, so we pulled out the rules that we thought would the rules that we thought that wouldn't be affected, that need some kind of change, repealed. That we thought needed repealed or changed or amended or whatever you want to call it, based on these definitions. So it's sort of like it. Yeah. So we'll just kind of go over those, and we have to give us some feedback. Remember, you're actually not going to actually start the back and all of those things until after the other. So just an opportunity for you to give me some feedback, where you want me to go. I can go over those, the different rules that I have in mind. So it's kind of just a discussion we have, and no decisions need to be made around this. It wasn't a decision we made around recommending individuals to maybe something to be affected by them. So the first one is 817, and I'll share this with you. I was You're in your book, to follow along. Five. No. Yes, have 5. I can, there wasn't too many changes to get back and I'll go back and forth originally the definitions you guys did yesterday on these ones. So we pulled out the for mostly to look at. Look at, if you just go down and they'll pop out, so. Oh, the journal thing was really fun. Talk about that, I think that is. Hearing fine, speak. So in number 15, it just said aesthetics has the definition set forth in 69005. Oh, so it's under 5, behind the first blue stick. Aesthetics administrative rules of mine, new definition. And I'm on page. Sorry. So there is, I mean, we just referenced the law here, but there, in other subject rules, we actually explicitly say we just symbolize. I don't know if that would be more helpful for licensees instead of having to go back and forth. There's that conversation you can have.34 is sharp edge and point of non-electrical tools and implements means those that make them contact bloodborne pathogens and other potentially hazardous material, including dermal cleaning, and handle insects, razors, uniform nippers. But in the end, I already made the notes. Look at your notes. So I'm talking about if mechanical or electrical apparatus and device need to be excluded. In that definition. So you would exclude then from the definition of sharp edge or pointy or non-electrical tools. That's up for discussion. Tools and implements and that definition, just making sure that doesn't crash into the new rules. So this makes sense. Chime in whenever you want.
Okay, this is Tracy Crum.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that we remove electrical apparatus and on-sale device from this due to our change with microneedling or that conversation yesterday.
I think you can consider it, or maybe adding in, like, there's no mention of the mechanical device that's in the new laws from 2070, so you want to make a reference there. The question there would be, do you want to make the copy paste the entire law in there, or do you want to make the reference 69005?
So stating the reference in this.
Yes, just like we do, let's say,
Right.
with the sentence.
Right.
And we do, like I said, we do have like some words and we don't have. Just.
Is there a reason why or why not?
I'm sure. But I mean, for licensees, it is more work and it's already complicated when you've got laws and rules and understanding that. And I guess in this situation and the changes, it's probably warranted.
To restate it again.
to restate it again. I think it's gonna be consistent. And I can just move that down, move it back.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what yours.
So this is Beatrice Dan, as I'm looking at number 34, when we're reading sharp edge or pointed non-electrical tools and implements. I don't think the mechanical, electrical, or apparatuses and appliance device would be put into there, but potentially it could be moved to 37 as it is a tool and implement. Because we talked about shears for cosmetic for barbering and hair design, where there's clippers. So the devices would be under tools and implements.
That would work for the United, the reason we put it where I put it was. Actually, is to add that whole definition under mechanic, just like it is in the law.
Oh, so we'd have a whole.
Yeah,
definition.
that's where it says natural physiological effect and all of those. But in case you have to reference it. So the idea would be making sure that that rule and other ones in here do not have conflicts with the COS definitions. For the yesterday, some might not have conflicts, some you to see conflicts. So pulling open these now is to give you an idea of what the back would be considering, so that therefore you can make recommendations on who the people. Sense, so the proposals won't actually be in this draft or a sense of what that is going to be. That's it. Yeah. So I'm going to do some searches in some of the words that were used yesterday. So that's another, well, I think how we're gonna do that is it's gonna be a because it's big.
Yeah.
It's long. But I think. Yeah, so anywhere you would use it somewhere else. You would reference the larger, the whole, something's back, would be backwards. So, yeah, otherwise it would keep it. Kind of like what happens with independent contractor, says has the definition set forth in COO law. Is that what you think? Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
This is Tracy from. He pointed out that we could put sharp edged or pointed electrical or non-electrical. And then combos that makes sense that the mechanical or electrical apparatus positive devices. 34.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, yeah, intellectual, I think that would work.
So your reps know.
I would wonder if you made a reference to the pad in each of your goals. I know this is harder to do, to see when I'm messing around. I apologize. Okay. Definitions. Any other definitions that we should consider looking at? If you have a note to add the reference to the natural and physiological effects. Yes. Got it. Find the list. Find all applicable regulations. This is generic, so just says authorizational must observe the just regulations and requirements of OHA. So we've got BHLO, all other applicable city, county, state, and federal catch-all. You could further specify US FDA if you wanted to, but the federal regulations catches that. Okay. Next one is 0065. We talked about a little bit yesterday. The education and training one after somebody leaves school, basically saying they, on whatever product, mechanical, manual, mechanical, electrical apparatus. Using until the practices for all of the fields practice, has to be all product registration requirements imposed by the federal state, any federal state or city. Authority, so it's repeating the one that is read. And the following applies to any service, product, chemicals.
Different steps with the auditor.
Following applies to any service, product, chemical, materials and supplies, tools and implements, including sharp edge or pointed electrical tools and implements, or manual, mechanical, or electrical apparatuses or appliances that an authorization holder uses in a field of practice. An item listed in 2 of the sub 2 is subject to office inspection. The authorization holder must maintain. So this is the one where it says you can self-trained, you can get training from another provider, you can get training through a school or an institution or a vendor. And if you do, you need to keep record of it. Study, and then what records you need to keep. So for self-study, self-study forms for prescribing alcohol. We do have one on the web. Those pens list out and the who, how you got the training, self-study, the forum, if it's a school, institution, or vendor, online courses, you put the name of the education's training sponsor or provider, documentation from education or training sponsor that expressly shows that the education or training is related to an item. Is that speaker on? Can you hear me in the room? Hello, hello, is that your mom?
Yeah, no, this is online.
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah. I don't know if you want to change that, or the other piece of this rule is an authorization holder has not provided services or used items listed in 2D of this rule within 2 years when the authorization holder must obtain additional education or training. So.
This is Tracy Caramo. Do we want to put electrical, like we put it in there before, the other one on number 2, this one, it kind of restates that same thing. Do we want to insert electrical or non-electrical after pointed?
There is, this is Chelsea. There is already, if you keep going, mechanical or electrical, or electric.
Yeah, state is like that before too, so do we want it to be?
Well, I think on the other ones in 3 and 4 was just standards.
Right.
That she had in there.
Well, anywhere this is, you see that this correlates. What does the definition look like? So whenever sharp edge or pointed non-electrical tools and implements is used, so non-electrical and electrical would be added. So it would reference this. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So good point. It will be thought, decide to change it. I'm going to make it more free.
This is Chelsea. I feel like the rest of it is good though, because it's still only gonna be within things that are in your scope of practice. Not like it's giving them permission to go look at something completely different.
Perfect. Yes. Thanks. So I guess in relevance to the new law, if somebody, say, went to parent school and they don't teach microneedling, but the esthetician can now do it, these would be the things that they would need to do in order to start doing that. So I guess, is there other things, or is this pretty well covered? This, I took a lot of this from the continuing education rules with other boards, so it's kind of what they require. I'll have the CAE board probably looking at adding the same one. Wow. I think so. This one should. Requirements, standards, and prohibitions were set, so. I think this one definitely has to be considered. If we're. This one. Number one is 676, 635, which is the advanced tool prohibits the practice of advanced non-ablative procedures by anyone who is not authorized to practice advanced non-ablative procedures by the board of certified advanced estheticians, except for licensed healthcare professionals acting in medical practice of students enrolled in advanced non-ablative sites, educational training. So that's just wrapping in who can do it and who can never be. Practice of advanced non-ablative aesthetics, under 630, and is a procedure that uses lasers. So here would be, I'll add IPL and other, or other devices registered, take that out. So we want to align the new, this rule would have a new logic, which is remove, add IPL, a contentful site, and remove the FP. Yeah, it's not. I said that earlier. Okay, so now. See, where are we at? Yeah, we should move on.
It needs some batteries. Move on.
Looking at prohibitions. Now. We went through what we wanted to change, what we need to change. Based on the 676, 630, while that change, we'll need to align that. I think we have to. Fine. Okay. ORS 676, 630 refers to devices registered with the United States Food and Drug Administration. We've already said that somewhere else. When describing the scope of advanced, so referent ORS 676 refers to devices registered with the US FDA. When describing the scope of advanced non-ablative aesthetics device. Not advanced non-ablative aesthetics, period. So that again would also need to be aligned with Well, if you kept this, maybe, we could, it depends on the message that you want to send. But if you want to keep it, these, that would definitely. I think a lot of it depends on where you guys end up in October, so it's hard to foresee the future. This is just giving me an idea.
Are you referring to 670? This is her, of course. Are you referring to 676, 630?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically what this rule does is, the purpose of it was basically to say, if you're an esthetician, you can't do advanced in the way of aesthetics. And because the US FDA registered device is within the scope of practice of advanced aesthetics, and removed it, back then, removed it from aesthetics. This was explaining that and saying you can't do it unless it's making the skin luminous. But now that's been removed, so some or all of this may be able to be removed once it's looked at more in depth.
This is Tracy. So this was just trying to clean up what had previously been done and then retract it.
Correct.
We may not need it now. It's.
Yeah, this was trying to clean things up and it was very. So yeah, this main being just the prohibitions that are in the reference in the, if all goes through the prohibition. What is only allowed in advanced aesthetics. So we maybe reference the advanced aesthetics device. And or. Cooling and just kind of. That. Money, so I think that we could probably replace that.
This is Chelsea. I would agree with that. Feel like what we heard yesterday, there's a lot of this up. Makes more specific for either license.
Yes, there is some question under 4, could be questions under 4 little b. And then all the I. Big two, I. Basically saying that's the scope, that's. What the FDA says is the scope of practice. Around, what, not be chemical, but. Oh, a device is a product intended to cure, mitigate, treat, or prevent disease or affect the structure or body function. So that is, the definition of basically a medical device, and then, the bottom part is the valve. And if you know anything about the FDA, it's a lot about claims and what the manufacturer says it is. And then, yeah, they look at other devices that are similar and they can just tag them with those. It's maybe the most confusing thing I've ever had to. Still not sure I understand. Okay, now, anything else about that one? The next one is disinfecting electrical tools in implements, so would these same things be relevant for all of the list?
All right, the batteries tonight.
Yep.
Nathan,
Yes,
can batteries, please?
Yesterday, they told us. That. For that. I specifically told. Let's take a little break so we can get the not bad one. Carrie, we go get. We ended up getting the bad microphone, remember the rubber band? So why don't you get the I think that there's only two of them, this one and that one. There might be another one up there, but I don't know if they put the other one. There. We can see if they have the other one.
Let's take 9:35.